Hello everyone and welcome down to episode number 23 of the Down South Photo Show with me, Brendan Waits, and my very good friend who is now doing one less episode than me. It's Cam Blake. Welcome back, Cam.
G'day, Brend. Yeah, I am. I've let the team down for a week. You're like one of those footballers that goes through like the whole season uninjured.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly.
Yeah.
But wasn't it great? I know you've now caught up with the episode of last week with Ash Hughes.
I have, yeah, absolutely. And thank you, Ash, for filling in the seat. The seat felt a little bit harder to get back into. I felt a bit of pressure. He did an amazing job, and I actually, one of the first things I did when I got off my trip, we had a 4-hour drive just back from Strawn on the west coast. I'm like, oh, what am I going to do? Listen to some music? Because by that time everyone's sort of over each other. And like I'll listen to me. I'm like, hang on a sec. I've got an episode of the Down South Photo Show I can listen to. There's an hour, and so I downloaded you and Ash and had it on. Listened at it. I actually had. I'm hoping our listeners have as much chuckles that I had at your episode with Ash than they do with ours, because I was chuckling along the whole way. It was really good. Good
he was very good value, and I knew he would be. Knows his craft really well. Even for a relative newcomer to the game, there's obviously something there though that that got him up and running early days, and he's he's really good. As I say, more than just a customer for me. Happy to call him a mate of mine, and he did an awesome job. We had some really good feedback as well from listeners. So thank you to everyone who listened in, commented, subscribed, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah. We do have another box below us available. I don't know, maybe Ash could be a bit more of a regular guest, or we can introduce guests. Or
look, I can see Ash coming back at some point. If we can afford him. The guy's going places.
Based on our salary cap with us two, I'm sure there's nothing left.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. I didn't exactly. It doesn't matter. So my week, this episode is going to be focused a fair bit on our friend in Tasmania there, because our friend in Tasmania has just had quite the adventure. So we're going to be dissecting his week shortly. As far as what I've had going on, camera and photo wise, it is starting to look a lot like Christmas. It's getting pretty crazy, which is great. We love it. Like the last couple of years have been absolutely terrible, so we're looking to claw back a bit of that.
Does that mean you're getting a lot of fat people with beards coming in? No?
No, not yet.
Moving on.
No, he comes on the 24th.
Okay.
But yeah, we've been receiving a lot of stock, and I just thought I'd mention here that yesterday I received 2 pellets of frames totaling 840 kilograms, which equated to something like 740 frames arrived yesterday.
Is that from our mate?
That is out from our friends at Profile, and I'm happy to drop their name here because I use
potential
and recommend...
sponsor.
Potential sponsor. Hi, Vince. So the reason I use Profile for my frames is they are authentically and genuinely Australian made. What?
They're good.
You can actually get Australian made frames still? Yes, you can. And from Profile,
Shock
they are
horrors.
awesome. And I know that you've been using Profile frames at your gallery as well.
I have one right here, and I did some printing today from my trip, and I'm just about tomorrow I'm going to frame up a couple of shots from the trip, ready to go. So,
if there's a mark of how good Profile are, 740 frames, 0 breakages. That's not bad from Sydney.
That's pretty good.
They were packaged very, very well. They looked after me there. We've also been obviously receiving all the other stock that we need. Canvas and papers and inks and all that sort of stuff. One thing we're not seeing a lot of is hardware in terms of cameras and lenses and things, because there ain't none, folks.
Yeah, right. That's obviously a COVID related thing. Like
100%.
Manufacturing just dropped down and stuff.
Yeah, so manufacturing took a massive hit, and of course you've got to understand, when you're putting a camera together. For example, let's pluck a brand. Let's say Canon. So the Canon factory, they don't manufacture every single part. They obviously have a supply network, and all they need is one of those factories to shut down for 7 weeks, which actually happened. And all of a sudden, they don't have one particular printed circuit board, or they don't have one particular grommet that fits on a thingy that makes the thing weatherproof, and they can't make the camera. And it stops. And I know that the photographic industry is only one small industry, but and it's happened across all industries worldwide. But it just seems like it's been a bit of a perfect storm for the photographic industry. And this year in particular, I haven't seen this level of stuff on back order this early ever.
Yep.
No. We're talking, like, I had a guy order a Nikon camera from me 3 days ago. We got the call from Nikon today that he will see it in March. March. And nothing they can do about it. If he wants that camera, he's just going to have to wait. And unfortunately, it's just the way of the world at the moment. So it's going to put a fair bit of pressure on retailers who traditionally rely on the Christmas and in particular Boxing Day sales and this new thing of Black Friday sales and click frenzies and all this sort of stuff, which I don't get involved in. But it's hard to sell stuff if you ain't got it.
Lucky for you, though, you went and bought an iPhone, so you're set for a camera for at least the next 12 months when they bring the new one out.
I'm 6 months, isn't it?
6 months. The battery runs out after 12 months, doesn't it?
That's right. Built-in obsolescence.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm fine.
You're fine.
Yeah, but look,
7 minutes in and I've given you shit about iPhone.
Thanks, mate. That's good.
Yeah.
It's so that camera phone has given us so much fodder. It's brilliant.
Well, I've got a funny story about iPhones as we get through this episode.
Good. No, this is good. I like it. So anyway, lots happening. My workshops came back, which I mentioned with Ash, and they've been really popular. I've now sold out 3 workshops. I've got one tomorrow night, and then I've got another one on Monday night, and then I'm pulling the pin on those until January for obvious reasons, because we're going to get really, really busy. So it's been good. It's been really good. But enough about me.
You're busy.
I would like you, Cameron, to tell me and the people at home watching about your background. That looks awesome.
My background is a shot that I actually almost took this from my sleeping bag, would you believe?
Oh, wow.
So my background is, for those who are on non-visual medium, it is a red boat sitting by the side of the Franklin River, and it's got a waterfall and the river in the background. It's a beautiful sort of, I think they're limestone cliffs or something's going on in the background. I think they're called Shower Falls, and that's about 5 days down the river, 5-6 days down the river. That's and it's all overhanging caves and rock formations and things like that. So you actually camp under rocks and caves, and this is taken from our camp. So we just before we set off for our last day, we made really good tracks on the last day and got out to the finish line in record time because we had record water coming behind us. It was a wet trip. So awesome. So that's where that shot was taken.
Yeah. So you literally each night would camp up like that. You just pull the boat off to the side and you literally sleep right by the river.
Yep. So the 8-day trip pretty much consists of 8 days of you being probably no further than 20 metres from that river. You're either in it or you're either sleeping about 20 metres, 50 metres off the bank, if that. So along the way, there's a lot of different campsites and a lot of different sort of setups. So the first night we're in a big overhanging sort of camp like this one. The next night we're in a bit of a foresty spot. After that we're in another forestry spot, and then more caves and a few things like that. So the river changes. There's an upper, a middle, and a lower Franklin, and the dynamics of the river and the surrounds change a lot. So, but every day you're on the river, you listen. It's really weird. You come back from a trip like this, and for a good 2 or 3 days after, I can still hear the river in my head.
Oh, it's exactly
just that whole noise.
I was going to ask you, and I'm sure a lot of the listeners are wondering as well. When you camp, like literally, and to me, it looks like a pretty fast-flowing river. So you got rapids and things like that. Yeah. Does it just become white noise, and it's just there? You just get used to it.
Yeah, it does. And where this background shot is at Newlands Cascade. So anyone that knows the super famous Rock Island Bend shot from Pettit on Broscus, it's just up the river that way, 400 metres. So this is just after that. It just becomes white noise in the background the whole time. This night though, I had a really rough night's sleep here. Not only did I pick probably one of the worst platforms of rock to sleep on. I thought that looks pretty good. I'll sleep there. No, it was crap. Everyone else is snoring. But I woke up a few times to one of our guides, Johnny, with his head torch, walking around where the boat is, checking the water level. That boat ended up getting moved higher. The water level came up and up and up and up to the point where I sat up from about 4 o'clock that morning just watching. I'm like, when do I have to get out of my sleeping bag and move to higher ground, because it's going up real quick. But thankfully, the river didn't get any higher than that sort of point.
All right. Well, that's pretty cool. And look, this is a photography podcast. We know that, but the logistics get me. Like this looks really cool. And of course, the number one question is, how do you keep your gear dry?
Number one question and the number one answer is we use Pelican cases. Yep. So we buy, I think we use the 1450 and the 1400 Pelican cases, so they're so big, enough for an SLR and a lens and memory cards and batteries. They get strapped into the boat in what's called a thought bag, which sits in the little front crevices where people are paddling. So they're relatively dry most of the trip, but with inside a bag that's semi sort of waterproof, inside a box that's sort of waterproof, they go okay. But the one thing I find is a bit of a problem on this trip is that sometimes when you open the box up, or it's been sitting in the sun, or there's a bit of moisture, a bit of air difference and moisture difference from the outside air to the box air. So sometimes you just got to leave the box open for 10 minutes, let it acclimatise, and then you're right to go. But we had 4 boxes of cameras and not one of them got wet. Those little red boats did go upside down a couple of times in rapids and sat there for a while upside down in rapids, and the boxes were good. So so
the boxes are strapped in as well.
They're locked into the bags that are strapped into the boats.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Right.
Yeah. So another shout out to Pelican cases. They do what they say they do. They are pretty bomb proof. And there was a few instances where those boxes were under threat. But when we get to the big rapids, we actually take those boxes out. So we walk some of the gear around the big rapids, and they just line the boats through with minimal gear on them. So, 60% of the time, the boxes are in our hands as we walk down the shoreline to the other side of the rapid, and then we hand them back and they hand it back in. So, but they have sat phones and all those kind of things on these boats loaded in Pelican cases, and they leave them on there the whole time pretty much. So
that's
crazy.
Awesome. Yeah, that's really cool. So, in terms also of logistics, how many hours a day roughly are you paddling or heading on the boat?
Everything depends on this water level with this river. So I've done trips where it was really low water level, and we took a long time each day to get to each camp. For example, the last day here, we left here for the last day. We covered 34 kilometres in probably 5 hours.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. That's pretty good.
And we didn't paddle much.
Yeah.
It was pushing us down the river quite quickly. So, but on average on this trip, I think the longest day we did was that last day, which was about 5 hours. Every other day was sort of half days, 4 hours, 3 hours. Get to camp, set up, relax, have something to eat, chill out. We had a rest day. Day two and three, or day 3 was a rest day. Mainly because we had snow on the hills and torrential rain, and there's no point getting in a raft for that. So there's time to sort of have a bit of a break and re-strategize how they want to get down the river. But on average, yeah, you're a couple of hours, 2 to 3, sometimes 4 hours in the boat, depending on the water level.
And you're starting at like fairly early each day?
Not super early. I think on average we probably left about 10 o'clock every morning. Get up, have breakfast, pack everything up. Get the boats loaded, get ready, get in your wetsuits, and away we went. And most of the time spent each day is mainly getting the rafts around the really non-passable rapids.
Yep.
Like there is some major rapids on this river, which you just don't go down because it's just Death City.
Yep.
So as I said before, they take all the gear off. We walk a lot of the gear around to the other side, and then we reload. So that takes time. And the guides and the guys in charge, they definitely take their time. Making sure everything's safe, making sure we're all safe, making sure the boats get lined through properly. I wish I could explain in better words how good these guides are. They are just incredible human beings about how they skip around these rocks, how they line things through, how they help you in a boat or out of a boat, how they cook. They do all the cooking, they do all the setting up, most of it and stuff. It's bloody impressive. and we had 3 of the best on this trip. It was incredible.
That's great. And so this trip you had the 3 boats?
We had 3 boats on this trip. That's right.
Yeah. Okay. So when you are, so of a morning, for example, clearly, like you're going to be awake pretty early because the noise of the river and all that sort of stuff. Were you taking that time to take photos, like, and you're sort of scouting locations and taking photos as you went?
Yeah, pretty much. So what we did every day when we rocked up, you set up your little tarp and your sleeping quarters, and they get all the kitchen and stuff ready. But then it's a bit of free time. So we had probably a good 2 or 3 hours every day, if not more, up to sunset to scout where we were. And I know most of the spots along there where we can take nice shots. In the morning, depending on what time we were leaving, if you're up early enough, Steve, one of my guests, he was a bit of a early riser. He was up before dawn every day taking photos. So the rest of us were snoring. He was out taking photos. He was happy doing that. It was
just to that extent as well, because I would understand that safety is number one. Safety is paramount on this kind of trip.
Sure is.
Would you tell your clients like there's a certain distance away that they could go or they couldn't go?
Yeah. There's certain spots where if for example, there's a spot called the Arenibus, which is a really beautiful sort of chasm where the river runs through, but it's got cliffs that overlook it, and we're pretty adamant. We don't go out there on our own. Take someone with you. Probably a good idea to put your life jacket back on, even if you're not in your wetsuit, just to go over there, stay away from the edge. But yeah, we set some pretty strong parameters, as do the guides, as to where and when we can sort of shoot and where we want to go on our own. We keep a pretty tight ship on that, because it is, this river was in flood for at least the majority of this trip, and you fall in there, and without a life jacket, you're gone. It's you're out of sight, out of mind down the river. We certainly play that. We have a very big safety briefing beforehand, and we just keep reminding everyone that, it's fine if you want to go on your own, but tell us where you're going to be, stay away from the edge. And most of the time I'd get up or someone else would go with them anyway. So.
Yeah. So again, from a photographic point of view, and particularly because you had guests, and essentially this is a workshop, right? Do you structure your days, or are you really doing it on the fly because you're not exactly sure what kind of location you're going to be in each day?
Yeah, so I class these as a photo tour. I don't class them as necessarily a workshop, even though we do have a lot of talking and instruction along the way. But I class these as a photo tour. So it's more about me helping them get to the right spots and seeing the right shots and setting them up and just being there to answer any questions. So each day, and the thing, you could say, look, today we're taking off and we're going to travel 5 hours, but we don't know where that 5 hours is going to get us. So you don't really know which campsite you're going to be at each night. So it's a bit of a mystery as we go along.
But that's pretty cool. I like that. I like that there is a little bit of mystery about it, and a little bit of unpredictability, because I think that actually helps with your photography as well. It's not going to be the same all the way. So
and every camp was 100% different.
Yeah, that's great. And did you find either you yourself or your clients would want to make an unscheduled stop because they saw something awesome and you just couldn't? Because obviously you're at the mercy of the river, and obviously you're in the hands of the guides.
Well, that's where we come back to using the greatest camera ever made.
Yes, there you go. See.
So yes, there was.
You're looking at me on one right now.
There we go. There was many times along the river where we're like, oh, can we not? We can't stop there. We've got to keep going.
Yeah, I bet.
There is photo opportunities. I kid you not, probably every 100 meters on this river.
Yeah.
There is also, each location, and Steve, I'll mention again, lovely guy from the north of Tassie. You could sort of see him and a few others struggling a little bit in the first couple of days. Like, okay, well, I've got a relatively small part of this river to spend the night at. Like, what am I meant to shoot? Like, okay, well, there's this here, that's there, but it really took them out of their comfort zone as landscape photographers. It wasn't all about, hey, there's a nice big landscape, let's just go shoot it. It was like intricate details of hue and pine with water droplets, or river currents with foam that you could do long exposures with, or even just taking shots of us in the landscape, so that the guides cooking with steam coming off the stove with this beautiful forest background. There's all these different things the red boats contrasting against the green forest. So it really made them think, and for the first day or two I could see their heads going, okay, this is not maybe what I expected to sort of get, and I'm sort of struggling because all I usually think of is this big landscapes like you've got behind you there.
Yeah.
So it puts people on a different level, and by the end of it, like they were shooting everything, like intricate details, fungi, little swirly eddies in the water, ropes off the boat that look really cool. Like they started taking heaps and heaps of shots in the sort of the last half of the trip, which was great.
Yeah, it's become a bit of a catch cry of the Down South Photo Show, and that's the landscape within the landscape.
Yeah.
And that comes down to lens choice, lenses you've got with you, and that sort of stuff. And it sounds like you're able to give these clients an experience where they're actually using every inch of their lens. So every right. From ultra, every millimeter, I suppose, of their lens. So from ultra wide angle down to 300 mil zoom sort of stuff.
Yeah, and like there was certain things that any of us picked up. Like there was some of those guys picked up something like, oh, that's a cool shot. I didn't even see that, and vice versa. The first night we were in sort of overhanging caves, and I was lying in my little mattress, my sleeping bag, just watching the river go across, and across the other side of the river was like this sandstone wall. And it just had this, I don't even know what kind of tree it was, but it was just this really light grey tree against this sort of yellowy sandstone background. And it was just surrounded by these darker trees. So it just automatically just framed itself. And I just got out my 90mm lens and shot it from my bed. And I said to one of the other guys, I said, look, this is interesting. They're like, oh, I've been looking at that tree all day, and I didn't even think that was a shot, but that looks great. Okay, out they went, and they started looking. And then we had all the Myrtle Beach down there. All the trees were all yellow, red, really bright green. We had some incredible colours down there as well. So
fantastic.
It really puts people. It's a bit of a shock to the system as a landscape photographer to start with. It puts them out of their comfort zone, but it's almost like their eye. It's like the river. The river sort of becomes white noise. Well, so does this landscape. The landscape all of a sudden becomes this huge playground of options to shoot, and it doesn't have to be a big one. It can be macro. It can be, you can get away with a 200mm on this river and still get amazing things. Yeah,
which always leads me back to the fact that the more you shoot, the better you get at it, and it becomes second nature, and it becomes you learn by doing, and you learn by rote.
Right.
But in this case, this is like turned up to 11 because that's all you're there for. So
right.
it's not like you've been forced into it. I don't want to put it that way, but it's like you're immersed in it. So it sounds like a fantastic experience. I'll jump ahead. I'm assuming you're looking at doing more of these.
Yeah, I'm hoping so. I think it's going to be a one-off thing per year, unless we get lots of numbers. The Franklin River Rafting Company, who I go with, Elias and Franzi, who own the company, they are busy. They're like everyone else in COVID. They've been postponing, and now all of a sudden they've got this massive log jam of people wanting to do it. So definitely hoping to do it at least once a year. I know I'm doing it in 2023 with two of the guests who couldn't come on this one. They're postponed to then. Last 2019, I think I did 2 trips down the river. So it'll keep going, and it's definitely available. But I think the one thing, I actually picked up some gear from Diane, who was one of our guests today, and had a good talk to her. And she's got a little couple of nips and bruises from the trip. And I think one thing that might have shocked these guys is that definitely it's an adventure. And the photography is only a fraction of what this trip's all about. Yeah. It's not just getting a comfy heated boat and just paddle along nicely and get out and take photos. It's an adventure. So we had snow, we had hail, we had rain, we had flooded water, we had the coldest day in November since 1952. We had it all down this river. And you do suffer for your art. So for people that might say, hey, this is awesome, I want to go down this river, be prepared to have a proper adventure. It's not, it's not heated blankets and fluffy pillows every night. It's camping in forests and, living on the bare minimum of what you can take. But the reward of that is that you'll get photos that, as Steve said, that only probably a handful of thousands of people have ever seen before.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the thing for me. That's the attraction of it for me is, you can't drive to these locations.
No, and you can't walk to them.
There's 2 ways to get there. One would be by helicopter, and even then you can't land a bloody thing, and the other way is by boat. So
that's a great segue, isn't it, Brendan?
Very, very. So Cam, any adventures on this adventure? Any stories that sort of stick out that you might want to share?
There was a couple. Yeah.
Okay. All right. You have the floor. The floor is yours for 5. Go for it.
So I'm starting to think that I have some sort of weird association with the Westpac Helicopter Rescue Service, and I don't know why, and I don't know what I've done to receive this amazing relationship with the amazing people from the rescue helicopter. But we did have a guest have to be evacuated from the river. They did their back completely went on. They did have a bit of an issue beforehand. It wasn't necessarily caused on the river. It just got inflamed by the river. So we had the Westpac Helicopter Rescue chopper fly in at about 8 o'clock on the morning of when we needed to get this person out. They do an amazing job. It was bucketing down rain. It was fog. It was crap. And they got in. They dropped the paramedic from about a metre off the ground. They were hovering over the river. The river was just this big ball of spray. And they dropped the paramedic off. He came and checked the guest out, gave them some pretty gnarly drugs, and they walked them around, and then they put a big sort of winching sort of nappy on them. Really, it's like a nappy that's got hooks all over it. And they went and landed the helicopter. They called them back in. They did a winch from about 20 metres off the river, from the riverbank, and up they went and back to the Hobart Royal Hospital.
Wow.
So, so it was... this is not what I wanted on this trip, because I've seen... This is the third adventure I've done this year, and each one of them has had a rescue helicopter.
Yeah,
and
goodness.
I'm starting to think I might just quit for a few months and just not go out there.
How is the patient? Are they okay?
They are good. They had X-rays and they're okay. Their back just practically seized up. They couldn't even get out. They couldn't get off the ground. They had to be assisted down to walk. But they went back. They had X-rays. They're on a crutch. They're on crutches and moving around. Hopefully they get well soon. And if they're watching, they know who they are. And we are all hoping that they get well real soon. And absolutely. Again, having the experience of being involved with a few helicopter rescues, I've never seen someone put in as good an effort to get from their back to a helicopter as this person did. It was, it made me feel pretty insignificant about my sore knee a few years ago when I went in the helicopter. This person was just superhuman to get where they had to get to.
Yeah.
And that was with minimal drugs. And then, from what we understand, when they got back to the Royal Hobart Hospital, they were pretty happy, pretty chirpy, and feeling a lot better after they had some of the Pethodox or whatever it is, the green whistle,
the good gear,
the good gear. So yeah, that was one of the dramas that happened on there, and that's, like I said, I've done this river 5 times or so now, and that's the first time I've ever even seen the chopper down there. So that's not a regular on these trips for the guys that are interested in coming. The second thing that happened is that the boat I was in, the boat of photographers, we had a pretty big gnarly flip in a rapid. The rapid is called Thunder Rush, if that's any indication of what it is.
I'm sure all the rapids have got their own little nicknames.
There's the churn, there's the cauldron, there's the sidewinder, there's the log jam, there's everything.
I don't know whether I'm on the Franklin River or at Dreamworld.
Well, this one felt like Dreamworld, but we had the 3 boats and we had to portage around the major part of this Thunder Rush rapid. And this is what we do every trip, and they let you down the bottom, and it's just a little hop, skip, and jump, and you're out. Well, we skipped, and we flipped, and
wow.
The next minute we know where the boat is upside down. We're hanging on the side of the rope. There's a rope around, like a rescue rope around the side of the raft. It was an experience. We all got out unscathed, absolutely.
Was this your first flip?
This is the first flip I've ever had with this company.
Yep.
The very first time I did the Franklin River with some friends 20 odd years ago, we had multiple flips, but in the middle of summer on relatively low water. This was a different experience. This took me. I was in the water for a while, and I took a bit of water on board. And I have to shout out to Johnny, who has our guide. Johnny is now my new best friend. I love Johnny. Johnny got me out of the water. Well, I got out of the water a few times on the boat, and then we got pushed back off a rock and back into the water. So what felt like about 24 hours in the water, underwater, under the boat, out of water, seeing everything going on, the whole drama of it was like getting washed around in a washing machine. We got to the end, everyone was fine, everyone was safe, no injuries, no nothing. It was just a bit of a shock because we didn't expect to flip the boat, and we didn't expect to be going down a couple of sets of rapids, not in the boat.
Yeah.
But all the gear was fine. We were fine. I don't know, but I'm assuming by everyone else I might have suffered the worst. I might have got more water down my throat, and I was in the water a lot longer. And Johnny was trying to get me help me flip the boat over. So he wanted me on the boat while the rest of them were sort of hanging on. And then the other boat picked up the people in the water, and I seemed to be in and out of the boat a fair bit. So by the end of it, I was absolutely spent. Like, I had nothing. And the adrenaline was pumping. And then to top it off, we had to climb up we had to go around the next rapid, which was this rope climb sort of thing up like a semi-half cliff. And then we had to climb up over this sort of big sort of foresty knoll. And actually, the climb over actually settled me down more. Like, it made me focus on just climbing up a hill. But yeah, that was an experience. So I think I may or may not have popped my finger out on the rope. So that's a bit bruised and a bit swollen and a bit sore. But I tell you what, you and I used to play indoor cricket together, as you well know.
Yes, we did.
And there was one moment there where Johnny had to throw me a rope. They have like these little bum bag ropes, like they're safety ropes.
Yep.
And I reckon I've taken the best slips catch I've taken since indoor cricket. He threw it. He threw it, and I just grabbed. I just caught it. And I'm like, I've got it, and he just pulled me straight in. I'm like, right, I've got a rope. I'm on the boat. I'm good. But
yeah.
That was the two major dramas of the trip. Is that we had someone had to get helicoptered out, and we had a pretty major rapid with all 4 people in the water, which is never the ideal scenario for the guides. But they treated it as if it was just another speed hump. But we were all a bit, we're like, okay, this is full on. So,
yeah, that would be full on if you saw the guide in the water as well. It's like, okay, because that's the dude you look to, right? Who's like, yeah.
Well, we flipped, and then like, I don't know, like it's like trying to climb onto a bar of soap.
Oh no, I could only imagine.
Johnny was up there. He was up there. I reckon he surfed the second rapid on the top of the boat, so he was on there.
Yeah.
He had no problems, but what he was doing is he was managing 4 people in the water.
Yeah.
And he knew where the 3 of them were, but I was on the other side going into the next rapid. So I think I'm assuming that Steve on our raft's quite a big, tall guy, big sturdy guy. I think he needed someone on that raft to help him with the weight flip it over, but Steve might have been too big to get in there. So I became the person that had to get on that boat. So there was some colourful language between me and Johnny trying to get on that boat.
Yep.
Which is not unusual for me. I'm used to that. But in the end, we both got on the boat. What they do is they clip a little rope on the underside of the boat, and then we all lean back and pull the boat over. And then we just sat in the boat. And then I remember we're sitting there, and everyone was like this whole shock. The whole group's just like, what the hell just happened? Why did everyone fall out? What's going on? And then Johnny's like, do you want some chocolate, Cam? I think you need some chocolate. And I went to eat this one block of chocolate. I reckon it took me 20 minutes to digest one. I just could not swallow it. I could not do anything. I was just completely spent.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was that's the first time that's happened to me. And I jinxed myself. I said at the start of the trip, I'm like, I haven't even come out of one of these trips.
Now, I'm going to assume that's the footage that you sent me the other day.
No,
okay, this is different. This is different again.
So another boat.
before you go on, Cam shared with me some footage last couple of days since he got back of another boat flipping over. Now, am I able to use that footage on this podcast?
Absolutely, we can.
Okay, because stay tuned to the end, folks, because I'm going to tack this bit of footage on right at the very end once we say goodbye. So there's something for you to look forward to.
Yeah, well, with those guys watching that, that was the rapid these guys were on is Newland. This is where just behind the background. That looks all nice and peace and quiet there. No, it's not. It's a bit bumpy on the way down. Our boat at the top of these rapids. This is probably one of the best rapids of the whole trip because they're not super hard, but they're long. Like it's 400 meters of white water. It's really, really cool, and you pull into camp like you're just there. But at the top of the rapid, my boat, we were, for lack of a better word, a little bit gun shy about rapids after our little adventure
I could imagine.
The previous day. And we'd just been at Rock Island Bend. We'd taken these beautiful photos of Rock Island Bend. We had the mint conditions for it, foggy, rain, the perfect conditions for Rock Island Bend. So we get to the top of these rapids, and Elias, who was one of the guides there and good friend, he's like, right, guys, to everyone, this is a rapid. He goes, we can walk it and we can run the boats through as the guides on our own. Like these guys get on just one each and go through the rapids and manage it. We have a boat of 4 people and we flipped it, so go figure.
Yeah.
He gave us the option, and I didn't even have to ask my group. They're like, "We're walking." the rest of the group, because there was other people on there as well. They're like, "What do you reckon, Cam?" I'm like, "Look, I've done these rapids and they are cool, but I'm just not feeling confident. So we're going to walk the 400 meters down the bank." And they're like, "All right, we're going to do it. We're going to do it." And Elias is like, "Well, if we all do it, you said you wanted to do it. If we flip, if we do this, you know the rules. This is what we do. This is the safety. This is the thing." So they went down first, and in that footage that you can see, they do get stuck on a rock, and that's when I thought, "Uh-oh, they're in trouble." But they got off the rock, but then you'll see what happens a little bit further down the river at the end. But they all got out okay. They were all fine. They all swam to the side. There was another group on the river who was also at that camp. So we actually had 3 individual guides, not ours, other guides on the river further with ropes to throw out and catch people if need be. So it was all safe. Like I said, it sounds terrifying and it sounds super dangerous, but these guys run one of the most fine-tuned tours I've ever heard of. They are on the ball, safety. They do the safety briefings, and you understand the risk of going down a river, but it's almost like the safety is embedded into the trip. Like you don't feel like you're being babysat the whole way, but you know you're being babysat the whole way, which is a great sort of reassurance while you're there. So an epic trip. It's the most wildest trip I've ever had on that river. The weather was just crazy. The rain was just relentless. The river level was just incredible. The rapids were just mind-blowingly good. And the photography, like for a misty sort of moist weather, the river couldn't have been any better. Like the photos we've all got out of them are just so moody and so Franklin River Tassie. It's not bright blue sunshine and skies. It's just mood and Mother Nature at her best. So we had a blast. We made some amazingly good friends. Everyone, it was one of the best gelling groups I've been on. Everyone just got on so well, and a shout out to anyone who's listening who's on the group. We had a great time. There were some absolutely amazing laughs and a few tears along the way.
That's very, very cool. I did want to touch on something because you mentioned how your groups sort of gel. Do you find there's any sort of competitiveness to get a photo, or to, I've captured this photo, mine's better than yours kind of stuff? Nothing like that?
No, not really. It's a little bit too tight for that. Like you can sort of, everyone goes for the classic shots of the river anyway, and then you'll find people sort of get into their own little groove. Di had a macro lens with her, so she was doing a lot of the macro. There was lots of little ferns and fungi and hue and pine leaves and all these really cool, intricate details that she was capturing. Steve's more of a big landscape kind of guy and does a lot of nightscapes. Really, Steve Whitworth does some beautiful landscape and astro work. I think he struggled a bit at the start with not being able to just have a huge grand view. But then at the end, he was shooting everything. Like he must have gone through 25 batteries, I reckon. He was everything he was into. And Michelle took some beautiful shots as well. And I think she was the same. She sort of had to get into her groove. But at no point do you sort of feel like, oh, gee, that's a really nice shot. Please don't take that. That's my shot. I think the fact that you're in each other's pockets for 8 days, the camaraderie actually just pops up really quickly. And
I would have thought there would become a real desire to share rather than to hide shots or anything like that.
Absolutely, and that's sort of where the whole idea of a photo tour comes through, is because, these guys are all great photographers in their own right, but just having someone who's done the river before and just point things out that they may not see. And I think that did help along the way. I think if I hadn't have been there pointing out and having a bit of a chat about things, they might have just sort of gone, well, there's nothing to shoot here tonight, I'll just put my camera away and relax, when there's lots to shoot. Lots of action shots and everything. It was really good. So all the photographers got on really well. We all got some lovely shots. But the iPhone, boy oh boy, did the iPhone get a use. So I had a little waterproof case that just slipped down my life jacket, and I took probably just as many shots of my iPhone as I did on my normal camera. But lots of video.
Do I need to insert the comments that you made a few episodes ago now about the iPhone.
You can. But what I'm going to say is I used it more for video than anything.
They're extraordinary video
capability
and recording in 4K and things like that. They're awesome.
Yeah. So it was a mixed bag. Like the campsites were all the good cameras, and then along the river we just used the iPhones and stuff like that. Yeah, it was really cool. Amazing trip. If anyone is keen to get some more information about it, please feel free to email me. I know a lot of people are a little bit hesitant, and I probably haven't helped that tonight either. But it really is, if you're up for an adventure, you have a pretty good general fitness, you don't mind getting a bit wet and occasionally a bit cold. There is one thing that happens on that trip, which I'll keep as a bit of a secret for those who have been on the trip. There is a thing called the groover. You may want to Google what the groover is on a whitewater rafting trip, but if you can handle the groover, then you'll be fine. It's not a problem at all.
I'm off to Google the groover. Now, the photos that you got from this trip, have you already added some to your existing gallery, like your website, or are you looking to do that?
I have put up one on the front page of my website, and I will add the rest of them to the Franklin River gallery very soon.
Great.
I've actually printed out 2 prints today, some 10 by 15 inch prints. They're getting framed up. They're ready to go. I've sold one already, which is great.
Yeah.
And the other one is ready for sale. If anyone wants to get on social media, you'll see which one I'm talking about. And then the rest of them are just going to be online, available for prints. Or if people just want to check out what kind of shots you can get. Like you see the shot behind, you can see like this is an absolutely beautiful spot. Like I said, I was under 5 meters from my bed, practically out of my sleeping bag from there.
Yeah, this really excites me. It looks like something to be right up my alley. So one day, Cam, I'll it's on the bucket list.
Let me know, mate.
Yeah,
you would love it. And I took 12 cans of alcohol with me along the way. People brought 2-litre goon bags of port and wine. The difference between this and an overland track walk is the boat does all the heavy lifting for you on this trip.
Absolutely.
If you get good water level, you can take a fridge down there if you want to.
Yeah.
Where the overland track or the hiking trips I do, you've got to carry everything. So it was super relaxed. The food.
I was just going to ask you about the food, so I'm glad you brought it up.
Yeah, the food is nuts. These guys.
You just get nuts. That's all.
That's it. That's all you get.
Right, walnuts.
The occasional sultanas and stuff.
Put an odd almond in there.
You might. The Franklin River Rafting Company. They, like I said, I'm going to plug them as much as they're the best of what they do. We ate like kings down this river. The night that we have here, we had porterhouse steak, and roast potatoes or spuds and stuff. What else? We had a taco night. We had a Asian cuisine night. We had cake. We had caramel cream cakes. For breakfast you could have wheat bix or porridge or whatever. We had pastas. They just cook like you wouldn't believe. Like the cooking almost outdoes the rafting. That's how good it is. So, they accommodate for anyone, whether or not you're vegetarian, vegan, whatever it might be. We had a couple of vegetarians. They were looked after. Lunches and stuff, the normal lunches, you might have a muesli bar and a wrap. They do what's called a bucket lunch, where they just put everything in this bucket, like this pot, and they mix it all up and crush in some corn chips and mix beans and all that kind of stuff, and then they just get the tacos out, and you're sitting in a boat eating a taco. It's nuts.
Yeah. Might not share a boat with you then.
Well, again, Google search the groover.
Yeah, I've got a feeling I know where this is going, but anyway.
Awesome.
Sounds like you had an absolute blast.
We did. It was crazy good.
The proof's in the pudding, folks. So once Cam's got some more photos to show, link in description, of course, to Cam's website address, which is Cameron.
Cam Blake Photography. I always forget my own website. camblakphotography.com.au or tazphoto.com.au. I'll have all those photos in my gallery before this gets launched, so we'll put the link in there if you want to go check out the latest trip.
For once, we're actually organised recording on a Wednesday, so this will be up on the Friday night. So you've got 2 days, buddy.
Yeah, good. And I'm actually heading off Friday for another workshop, so I'll have to get them done tomorrow.
No rest for the wicked.
No, not at all. Last one for the year, though, so I'm looking forward to that. But if anyone is keen, looks like we'll probably go in November as a regular thing, maybe earlier in the year as well. But if anyone's keen, like we can take up to 3 boats, so we can take up to 12 people. If you've got a group of mates that love adventure and photography, this is right up your alley. If you think you're not worthy of doing it or not capable of doing it, hit me up. I can talk you through it, and we can sort of, we can suss you out as to what we think, whether or not you can do it or can't do it. But I've taken lots of different people down this river. The company that does it just do such a great job, and you'll go through a part of the world that is completely untouched, and thank God it isn't. It's great.
Yeah, awesome. It just looks fantastic, as I say. It's well and truly fairly and squarely on my bucket list as well. Okay, that pretty much brings us to the end of the podcast. We are at around 45 minutes, Cam. So where did that time go? It was good. It was good hearing about your adventures down there. So this week you've got a workshop coming up on the weekend, is that right?
Yeah, we're off to the Tarkine up in the northwest.
Yes.
And this is the last one for my year. Then I'll have a bit of time off. And then we'll get back into it in sort of February. Actually, I've got a private tour in January, but back into the workshops into February. So looking good forward to winding down for Christmas, and it's been a big year, and look forward to another big year. So yeah, that's what's happening.
It's been a big crazy couple of years. So I think everyone's looking forward to. We keep saying this, a sense of normality and that sort of stuff, but it really is starting to feel that way. Let's all touch wood, and hopefully we don't end up going the wrong way. But it's certainly Christmas this year certainly has a good feel about it. Looks like a lot of families are going to get to reconnect, which is brilliant. Really excited about all that. And it's going to be a crazy 4 weeks coming up at Cameroon Photo, but that's fine. This will be my ninth Christmas that I've done, so.
I reckon you're going to be feeling like I was going down that rapid for the next 3 weeks, maybe. You're going to have not much air, not much room to move, feeling a bit uncomfortable, but getting rewarded at the same time.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I love it. That's what we do. We have already been inundated with orders for canvas prints, people's own photos, not just my stuff, a bit of my stuff, which has been nice, but a lot of people bringing me in photos that they've done and are keen to get up on their walls as canvas prints or frame prints. So that's really, really cool. There will be a time that I'll have to call it quits on that, so to get things done before Christmas, but I haven't quite set that date yet. But
you would have a cut-off day, wouldn't you?
Funny you should say that, Cam, because last year I had a cut-off date of the 18th of December, so it's a week out. And I found myself taking orders on the 23rd. So
you just can't say no.
Well, you can't. I mean, and you get some people come in and they're just like, I know this is really asking a lot, but this would mean a lot if you could. And it's Christmas. You just you take it on. Yeah. You take it on. What is it? Bite off more than you can chew, and chew like crazy. So that's pretty much what we do.
Or here's one: fall out of a boat and swim like crazy.
Well, pretty much. So anyway, as I say, looking for that. Now, as far as the podcast is concerned, the Down South Photo Show will continue. We will. I hopefully will be able to continue to deliver a weekly show for you. It's all going to depend on workloads and things like that. So I'm sure everyone will be very understanding if they're not as regular as they could be through December. But
maybe the next show could be a live show.
I would love to do a live show, and we have had quite a few people ask about live shows and things like that. So we shall talk about that and see. But other than that, Cam, have you got anything else to add tonight?
No. Again, I just want to thank Ash for filling in for the week. Legend, and he's more than welcome to come back anytime.
Stop pumping his tyres up. He's had enough shout-outs already.
All right, okay, piss off, Ash. You're not welcome back, right? This is my show. No, I'm good. Like I said, I'm really happy to be back with family and friends, and we had a great trip. I'm rapt to hear that you're busy and doing stuff at the shops, which is great.
Yep.
Like you said, it does feel like things are getting back to a bit of normality, which is good. I'm just looking forward to winding down for Christmas. Hopefully, if I can get up to Melbourne, catch up with a beer with you or something.
Yes.
Be great. Again, just thanks to all the people that listen, and thanks to all the subscribers, and thanks for making this show really cool. We're still enjoying it. We're up to 23. We're almost a quarter of a century old in episodes.
Wow.
I'm all good, mate. I'm glad to be back.
Excellent. All right. Thanks, everyone. Hope you enjoyed the show. We will see you next week for episode 24 of the Down South Photo Show. See you guys.
Cheerio. Bye.
Cheerio.
I'm going to chuck a new one every time.
This is a